On April 13, 2026 at 6:29 p.m. local time, a widely felt earthquake struck Nevada, being potentially felt by up to 5 million people. And, strangely enough, this earthquake potentially occurred as part of a process that might one day form a new plate boundary. Registering in as a magnitude 5.7, this quake, which struck 16 miles southwest of the town of Fallen, caused the ground to rapidly shake back and forth for between 4 and 10 seconds, depending on location. As a result, items fell off of store shelves, with some bottles breaking on the floor and pool water sloshed back and forth. Thankfully, there were no reports of structural damage, although the breaking of some store items means that there was some very limited economic damage. However, there may have also been some limited instances of liquefaction in uninhabited areas, which if it did occur would look like this. Although the earthquake's epicenter was unusually shallow with a depth of only 5 kilometers or 3.1 miles, the strongest shaking occurred where absolutely no one lived, specifically in a playa remnant of the late Pleistocene to early Holocene Lake Lahontan. Thus, this is the strongest shaking intensity nearly populated areas experienced from this earthquake. Now, this might sound like a very strange thing to add at first, but I want to thankfully note that the earthquake which struck had absolutely zero effect on the nearby active volcano. As, in very uncommon and specific circumstances, a volcano that was already primed to erupt and experiences MMI5 or greater intensity shaking can theoretically be triggered to erupt by a nearby earthquake of sufficient magnitude. In this case, while the Soda Lakes volcano, which erupted at some point in the last 6,000 years, did experience MMI5 shaking, it was not previously primed to erupt and showed no signs of suspicious activity. Heading back to the quake which struck, U.S. Geological Survey figures can allow us to easily identify the fault plane that was utilized. In this case, it was almost a pure left lateral strike slip fault earthquake, although there are 2 possible plane solutions, one to the north-northwest and one to the east-northeast. However, it becomes absurdly obvious that the latter option was the culprit by looking at where its 119 and counting aftershocks have struck, all of which so far have been lesser magnitude events. While any particular earthquake can technically be a foreshock before an even larger earthquake, the vast majority of times this is not the case, and foreshocks can never be identified at the present, only in hindsight if a larger quake then occurred nearby. With that in mind, here are the odds of various magnitude aftershocks striking in a set period of time, although these are not true predictions but rather are created by looking at statistical averages from similar magnitude events. This 5.7 earthquake did not seemingly occur along a previously known fault line, although it does roughly parallel a series of regional fault lines. Altogether, many of these regional faults, which mostly but not always trend to the north-northwest, are part of a broader geologic province known as the Walker Lane. I could best describe the Walker Lane as a series of faults that accommodates the vast majority of the region's tectonic plate motion not specifically already accommodated by the San Andreas Fault. It is a more recent feature than the San Andreas Fault, and some scientists speculate that the Walker Lane may one day replace the San Andreas Fault as a plate boundary, but I do not agree with that assessment. Now, you might be wondering why a fault line seemingly oriented 90 degrees in the wrong direction could be part of the Walker Lane province. The answer is that in the far northern section of the Walker Lane, strain is partially accommodated by transtensional faults like seen in this diagram. While Monday's earthquake was indeed fairly sizable for Nevada, an earthquake of similar or larger magnitude has occurred an average of once every 5 to 6 years in the state since 1990. Stay tuned for more updates. As a final note, I would like to thank this channel's patrons on Patreon and channel members on YouTube for supporting my work.